I'm Dr. Michael Harrison, and today I want to share something that could change the way you think about your skin for the rest of your life. If you have been dealing with dry, cracked, tight, or irritated skin and you are over 60 years old, I need you to hear this. What you are experiencing is probably not what you think it is, and the solution is almost certainly not what you have been told. Here is what I mean. A large population-based analysis published in the Journal of the European Academy of Dermatology examined over 20,000 adults over the age of 60. What they found stopped me in my tracks. More than 55% of seniors with ongoing dry skin had measurable damage to their skin's natural protective barrier and signs of chronic low-grade irritation. This was not dryness caused by aging alone. This was structural damage, and that changes everything about how we should approach the problem. I spent over 40 years treating patients in the hospital. I saw thousands of seniors come through my office with skin complaints, and I will be honest with you, for the first decade of my career, I handed out the same advice everyone else did. Use more lotion, drink more water, try a thicker cream at night. It took me years to realize that advice was not solving the problem. It was covering it up. And I have to tell you, that realization was humbling. Here I was, a trained physician, repeating guidance that sounded reasonable but was fundamentally incomplete. It was not until I started paying closer attention to the research coming out of dermatological science in the late 1990s and early 2000s that I began to understand what was really happening beneath the surface of aging skin. And today I want to give you the information I wish I had shared with every single patient who sat across from me with cracked hands and tight, uncomfortable skin. Because this is not about moisture, this is about protection. And once you understand that difference, everything changes. Before we dive in, I want to be clear about something important. While I am a physician sharing evidence-based information, this video is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for personalized medical advice from your own doctor who knows your specific health history. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen. That said, let me walk you through the 5 things every senior needs to understand about skin barrier repair. We are going to start with number 5 and work our way to number 1, which I believe is the single most important insight for healing dry, cracked skin after 60. And I promise you, number 1 is not something most people have ever been told. Before I get into number 5, I want to hear from you. I am curious, how long have you been dealing with dry or uncomfortable skin? Drop a comment below and tell me whether it has been months, years, or even decades. I read every single comment on this channel, and I often respond personally. Your experience matters, and it might help someone else watching this realize they are not alone in what they are going through. I have found that sometimes just knowing other people share your struggle can make a real difference in how you approach the solution. Now let me start with a story that perfectly illustrates what we are talking about today. I want to tell you about someone I will call Dorothy. Dorothy was 71 years old, a retired school teacher, and one of the most diligent patients I ever had. She came to see me because her skin had become so dry and cracked that her hands would bleed when she opened jars. Her shins looked like cracked desert earth. The worst part, she told me, was the itching. She said, "Dr. Harrison, I wake up at 3 in the morning scratching my legs until they are raw. I have tried every cream in the drugstore. I drink 8 glasses of water a day. I do everything right, and it just keeps getting worse." That frustration in her voice, that sense of doing everything she was told and still suffering, I heard it from patients almost every single day. And I want you to know, if you have felt that same frustration, your concerns are valid. You are not imagining it. You are not being dramatic. Something real is happening to your skin, and you deserve to understand what it is. Dorothy's story is important because it reveals the fundamental misunderstanding that keeps millions of seniors trapped in a cycle of discomfort. She was not failing. Her skin was not broken beyond repair. She was simply solving the wrong problem, and that is exactly what I want to help you avoid today. Let us begin with number 5. Your skin is not just dry, it is unprotected. This is the foundation everything else builds on, so stay with me. Most people think of dry skin as a moisture problem. The skin feels tight, it looks flaky, it cracks, so the logical conclusion is that it needs water or hydration. But here is what the medical literature actually tells us. Your skin is built like a brick wall. The skin cells are the bricks, and between them is a mortar made of specialized fats called ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids. This mortar is your skin barrier. It is what keeps moisture in and irritants out. Think of it this way. If you had a brick wall protecting your house and the mortar between the bricks started crumbling, you would not fix it by spraying water on the wall. You would fix it by replacing the mortar. That is exactly the situation with aging skin. The structure needs repair, not just surface-level moisture. After the age of 60, something quiet but significant happens. Research published in the Journal of Dermatological Science found that the skin's protective barrier can weaken by nearly 30%, even in people who moisturize daily. Let me say that again. Even people who are actively caring for their skin can lose up to 30% of their barrier function. And here is the part that really caught my attention. The study found that aging skin often does not recognize many modern cream formulations as supportive. The skin encounters these products and essentially treats them as foreign substances rather than helpful ones. That means the effort is there, the intention is there, but the skin simply cannot use what it is being given. This is why so many seniors feel like they are fighting a losing battle. They are applying creams morning and night, spending money on expensive products, doing everything they were told, and the dryness keeps coming back. It is not because they are doing something wrong, it is because the approach itself is incomplete. The skin does not need more moisture forced onto it. It needs its protective barrier rebuilt so it can hold on to moisture on its own. Now here is what most people get wrong about this. They hear barrier damage and think it sounds permanent. It is not. The skin is a living, regenerating organ. It wants to heal. It is designed to heal, but it can only do so when it receives the right signals and the right building materials. I have seen this with my own eyes in thousands of patients over the decades, and it never stopped being remarkable to watch. When you give the skin what it actually needs, the response can be profound. And that leads us directly to number 4. Number 4 is this: what you put on your skin matters less than what your skin can actually use. I want to tell you about a patient I will call Robert. Robert was 68, a retired electrician, and his wife had bought him what she called a small pharmacy of skincare products. He had thick creams, thin lotions, medicated ointments, overnight masks. He showed me a shelf in his bathroom that looked like a department store counter, and yet his skin was red, irritated, and cracking at the knuckles and elbows. Robert told me he felt embarrassed shaking hands at church because his skin looked so rough and angry. He said his wife meant well, and he appreciated her trying, but nothing was working. When I examined Robert's skin more closely, I noticed something telling. The areas where he applied the most product were actually the most irritated. His skin was reacting to the very things meant to help it. This is more common than you might think. Many commercial moisturizers contain ingredients like synthetic fragrances, preservatives, alcohols, and chemical emulsifiers that can actually disrupt the skin barrier further. A review published in the British Journal of Dermatology found that certain commonly used moisturizer ingredients can increase transepidermal water loss, which is exactly the opposite of what they are supposed to do. The researchers noted that some of the most popular moisturizing ingredients on the market had the potential to thin the skin's lipid layer over time rather than strengthen it. In my experience with thousands of patients, the ones who saw the biggest improvement were often the ones who simplified their routine rather than adding to it. The skin after 60 becomes more selective about what it can use. It responds best to ingredients that closely resemble its own natural composition. When you apply something the skin recognizes, it absorbs calmly and uses it efficiently. When you apply something foreign, the skin may mount a low-grade inflammatory response, which over time worsens the very barrier damage you are trying to fix. Now here is where this gets really practical. I am not suggesting you throw away everything in your bathroom tonight. What I am suggesting is that you begin to think about your skincare the way you think about nutrition. You would not eat something your body cannot digest and expect it to nourish you. The same principle applies to your skin. It needs ingredients it can recognize, absorb, and use to rebuild its protective structure. And when I explained this to Robert, something clicked for him. He went home and did something simple. He read the ingredient labels on every product on that bathroom shelf. Most of them listed 15, 20, even 30 ingredients he had never heard of. That moment of awareness was the beginning of his turnaround. And that brings us to number 3, which builds directly on what we just covered. Number 3. Chronic inflammation is quietly destroying your skin from the inside out. Now I want to pause here and remind you, I am not suggesting you change any medications or treatments without speaking to your prescribing physician. What I am sharing today may inform a conversation with your doctor, but any changes should only be made under their guidance. With that said, let me explain something that connects what is happening inside your body to what you see on your skin every morning. One of the quiet drivers of barrier damage after 60 is chronic low-grade inflammation. You cannot see it, you cannot feel it directly, but it is there, working slowly beneath the surface, weakening the structures that keep your skin soft and resilient. I like to describe it to my patients this way. Imagine a slow drip of water hitting a stone wall. On any given day, you would never notice the damage, but over months and years, that persistent drip wears a groove into the stone. That is what chronic inflammation does to your skin barrier. Day by day, it erodes the very structures that are supposed to protect you. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that chronic inflammation accelerates the breakdown of collagen and the lipid structures that form your skin barrier. And here is the part that surprises most people. One of the most common sources of this inflammation is dietary, specifically the types of fats that have dominated the Western diet for the past several decades. Highly processed seed oils, the kind found in most packaged foods, fast food, and even many products marketed as healthy, can promote inflammatory pathways throughout the body when consumed in excess. Over years and decades, this quiet inflammation changes how skin cells behave. They become more fragile, more reactive, and less capable of maintaining the barrier that keeps moisture locked in. Now here is what stopped me in my tracks when I first read this research. A study published in the Journal of Lipid Research found that the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in the modern diet has shifted dramatically over the past century, from roughly 1:1 to as high as 20:1 in some populations. This imbalance promotes a pro-inflammatory state throughout the body, and the skin is one of the first organs to show it. Additional research from the Cleveland Clinic has confirmed that this inflammatory imbalance does not just affect the skin. It contributes to joint stiffness, cardiovascular strain, and even cognitive decline. But the skin, because it is the largest organ in your body, often shows the effects first and most visibly. I know that can feel overwhelming at first. The idea that what you have been eating for years could be contributing to your skin problems is not easy to hear. But here is why I find it hopeful rather than discouraging. It means we have a lever we can pull. It means this is not just about getting older. It is something we can influence with the right daily choices, and the changes do not have to be dramatic. Small, steady shifts in the types of fats you consume can begin to calm that internal inflammation over weeks and months. I have seen patients go through exactly this process, and the results are often noticeable not just on their skin but in their energy levels, their joint comfort, and their overall sense of well-being. If you know someone who struggles with dry, cracked skin, a spouse, a parent, a friend, please share this video with them. You might be giving them information their doctor never had time to explain. Number 2. The solution is not more moisture, it is familiar protection. This is where everything we have discussed comes together, and I want you to pay close attention because this point changed how I practice medicine in the last 15 years of my career. The skin was designed to be protected by fats that closely resemble its own natural oils. Your skin produces a substance called sebum, a complex mixture of fats that coats the surface and maintains the barrier. After 60, sebum production declines significantly. Some research suggests it drops by as much as 60% compared to your 30s, so the skin is producing far less of its own protective coating, and what we have been offering as a replacement, synthetic creams and chemical-laden lotions, does not match the composition the skin expects. This reminds me of one of the most meaningful conversations I ever had with a patient. I will call her Grace. Grace was 74 and had lived with uncomfortable skin for over a decade. She had tried prescription creams, over-the-counter remedies, even home remedies she found in magazines. Nothing gave her lasting relief. She sat in my office one afternoon, looked at me with tired eyes, and said something I will never forget. She said, "Doctor, I have spent so much money and so much time trying to fix this. I feel like my body has turned against me. And I want you to know, that feeling, that sense of betrayal by your own body, I have heard it from so many patients. It is completely valid, and it is also not the full truth. Your body has not turned against you. It has simply been deprived of something it needs." I have seen so many patients go through exactly what Grace was experiencing, and every time it reminds me why this information matters so deeply. When I explained to Grace that her skin was not failing but was missing a specific type of protection, something shifted in her face. For the first time in years, the problem made sense to her, and that understanding alone changed how she approached her care. She told me later that just knowing the why behind her suffering gave her a sense of control she had not felt in a long time. The key insight here is biological familiarity. Your skin responds best to fats that mirror the composition of its own sebum. When you provide the skin with something it recognizes at a structural level, it does not react with irritation or inflammation. Instead, it absorbs calmly, uses the building materials efficiently, and begins to repair the barrier naturally. This is fundamentally different from forcing moisture into damaged skin. This is giving the skin back what it lost and letting it do what it was designed to do. Natural animal fats, particularly from grass-fed sources, have a fatty acid profile remarkably similar to human sebum. They contain fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, in forms the skin can readily use. They do not oxidize on the skin the way many plant oils can, and they provide the kind of occlusive protection that allows the barrier to heal underneath without being suffocated by synthetic chemicals. I have seen patients who switched from commercial moisturizers to simple recognizable fats and noticed a difference within days. Not a miracle cure, but a calm. The tightness eased, the redness faded, the cracking slowed, and over weeks, as the barrier began to rebuild, the improvements became more lasting. That is the difference between masking a problem and actually solving it. All right, stay with me here, because we are about to get to number 1. Let me bring everything together first, because I want to make sure you caught the full picture. We have covered 4 crucial insights so far. Your skin is not just dry, it is unprotected. What you put on your skin matters less than what your skin can actually use. Chronic inflammation from the inside is quietly weakening your barrier, and the solution is not more moisture but familiar protection the skin recognizes. Each of these points builds on the one before it, and they all lead to the most important insight of all. Now here is the part most people miss, and it is the reason I saved it for last. Number 1. True skin barrier repair happens when you align both the inside and the outside. This is what I consider the number 1 way to heal dry, cracked skin after 60. It is not a single product. It is not a single food. It is an alignment. When the protection you put on your skin matches the nourishment you put in your body, something remarkable happens. The skin receives a consistent signal from both directions, repair from the outside, support from the inside, and for the first time, the barrier can truly rebuild. Based on my experience with thousands of patients, this dual approach is what separates temporary relief from genuine, lasting healing. Here is how this works in practice, and I want to give you clear steps you can begin with this week. Step 1. Simplify what touches your skin. Look at the products you are currently using and ask yourself one question. Would my grandmother recognize these ingredients? If the label reads like a chemistry textbook, your skin is likely struggling to use it. Begin replacing complex products with simple, recognizable fats. Grass-fed tallow balm is one option. Pure shea butter is another. Even simple olive oil applied to damp skin can be a starting point. The goal is to give your skin something familiar, something that does not trigger an inflammatory response, something it can absorb and use. Start with one product, perhaps the cream you use on your hands or the lotion you apply to your legs before bed. Replace that one product first, and pay attention to how your skin responds over the next 2 weeks. Step 2. Reduce the inflammatory signals from within. You do not have to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start by becoming aware of the processed seed oils in your food. Check the ingredient labels on your salad dressings, your cooking oils, your snack foods. Begin replacing these with olive oil, avocado oil, or butter from grass-fed sources. Add omega-3 rich foods like wild-caught salmon, sardines, or a high-quality cod liver oil supplement. These calming fats help restore the internal balance that your skin depends on for barrier maintenance. And remember, consistency matters more than perfection. Small changes sustained over weeks will do more than dramatic changes abandoned after 3 days. I tell my patients, do not aim for perfect, aim for better than yesterday. That is enough. That is how real healing begins. Step 3. Support the barrier with key nutrients. Vitamin A supports skin cell turnover. Vitamin D plays a role in skin immune function. Vitamin E protects against oxidative damage. And vitamin K supports tissue repair. These vitamins work best when they come from whole food sources. Liver, egg yolks, fatty fish, leafy greens, and fermented foods are all excellent choices. If dietary sources are limited, discuss supplementation with your doctor, particularly vitamin D, which many seniors are deficient in according to data from the National Institutes of Health. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that vitamin D deficiency was present in nearly 42% of adults over the age of 65, and that deficiency was associated with poorer skin healing outcomes. So this is worth discussing at your next appointment. Now, I know some of you are thinking, Dr. Harrison, this sounds like a lot to take on, and I understand that concern completely. I have seen so many patients go through exactly this moment of feeling motivated but also overwhelmed. So let me make it simple. If you do nothing else after watching this video, do these 2 things. First, find one product on your skin that contains ingredients you cannot pronounce, and replace it with something simple and natural. Second, add 1 serving of omega-3 rich food to your week. That is it. Start there. Give your body a chance to respond, and then build from there at your own pace. You do not have to do everything at once. Progress is not about speed, it is about direction. The most common obstacle I see is the expectation of overnight results. Your skin barrier did not weaken in a week, and it will not rebuild in a week either. Most of my patients began noticing meaningful changes within 3 to 4 weeks of consistent effort. By 8 to 12 weeks, many reported that their skin felt fundamentally different, not just softer but calmer, less reactive, more resilient. The cracking slowed, the itching faded, and for the first time in years, their skin held on to comfort without needing constant reapplication of products. That kind of lasting change is what I want for you. Before I let you go, I want to share one more story that I hope will stay with you. Remember Dorothy, the retired school teacher I mentioned at the beginning? After our conversation about skin barrier repair, Dorothy made 2 changes. She replaced her collection of drugstore creams with a simple tallow-based balm, and she started taking a spoonful of cod liver oil each morning with her breakfast. She did not change anything else. She did not go on a special diet. She did not buy expensive supplements. She made 2 simple changes, and she stuck with them. When Dorothy came back to see me 8 weeks later, the first thing she said was, "Dr. Harrison, I slept through the night for the first time in 2 years. My legs did not wake me up. The cracking on her hands had softened. The angry red patches on her shins had calmed to a soft pink. And that look she had in our first meeting, that exhausted, defeated look, it was replaced by something I can only describe as relief. She told me, I thought my skin had given up on me, but it turns out I just was not giving it what it needed." Now, I am not telling you Dorothy's story to promise that you will have the exact same results. Everyone is different. But what Dorothy's story shows is that it is possible. Even when you feel like you have tried everything, even when you are tired and frustrated, there are specific evidence-based steps that can shift the trajectory, and that possibility is worth pursuing. That is the message I want you to take with you today. Dry skin after 60 is not a personal failure. It is not an inevitable consequence of aging that you simply have to accept. It is your body asking for something specific. It is asking for protection. It recognizes. It is asking for nourishment. It can use. And when you provide both, from the outside and from the inside, the barrier can rebuild, the comfort can return, and the skin can remember how to protect itself the way it was always designed to. And remember, this information is meant to educate and empower you, not replace the advice of your personal physician. Take what you have learned today and have a conversation with your doctor about what is right for you. Let me leave you with 3 key takeaways. First, dry, cracked skin after 60 is a barrier problem, not a moisture problem. Stop chasing hydration and start rebuilding protection. Second, what touches your skin and what you eat both matter. Align them by choosing fats your body recognizes and reducing the inflammatory ones it struggles with. Third, consistency heals. Small, steady changes sustained over weeks will transform your skin more effectively than any expensive product ever could. These 3 principles guided the last 15 years of my clinical practice, and I have seen them work for patients time and time again. If you found this helpful, if you learned something today that you can use, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. I release new videos every week specifically designed to help you take control of your health and maintain your independence as you get older. And I promise to always give you the science without the hype. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these strategies are you going to try first. I personally read every comment and I would love to hear from you. If you are interested in learning more about how what you eat affects your skin, your joints, and your energy levels as you age, I have another video that goes much deeper into the connection between diet and inflammation that I think you will find very helpful. It covers some of the specific foods that support barrier repair in even more detail, and I think it pairs perfectly with what we discussed today. Take care of yourself.